and are attending the event at the Union Buildings in Pretoria. I'll start off with Chriselda. A very warm good morning to you, colleague. Tell us more about the significance of this day, please.
Well, a very good morning to you, Tumela. As you said, we're live from the lawns here at the Union Buildings in Pretoria on the 2015 commemoration of the slain police officers, men and women in blue who have given to this country, given of their time, given of their families, and died in the line of duty, both on and off duty. Those numbers that you certainly gave are quite staggering there, Tumela. You would know, of course, as you pointed out, from the 1st of January 2015 to the end of August 2015, we've had that staggering number of 58 on and off-duty police officers that have been killed. So, you know, the hundreds of police officers are in attendance here at the Union Buildings to bid farewell, to give honour to their colleagues who've been slain in the line of duty, as the visuals you can see there on my screen as well. Also, the families of those who have died in the line of duty, on and off duty as well, are also here at the Union Buildings this morning. We're expecting President Jacob Zuma to give a keynote address here this morning, and that keynote address, I guess, will be no different from what President Zuma said just over a week ago relating to these staggering numbers of police officers that have been killed on and off duty, saying that this needs to come to an end. Clearly, there seems to be an onslaught on the lives of police officers in this country. You know, police training is one of the issues that has come under the spotlight in the majority, as we saw these police officers, the many of them, many families grieving for their loved ones who have been killed while they're trying to keep our streets safe, and those who are trying to make us rest well at night, most certainly. We're also expecting the police minister, Ntleko, as well as his deputy minister as well, Ms. Maggie Soki. On your screen there you see those men and women in blue are the ones who keep us safe at night, to ensure that you and I are able to rest well. But many challenges, of course, at this point, and issues relating to, for example, the slain police officers. You know, the police have been under the spotlight for some time now for a number of reasons, including issues relating to police brutality. Those are certainly issues we'll also pose to the Minister of Police, Ntleko, when we speak to him just a little bit later on. But today here, it's about a tribute to these men and women in blue who gave of their lives to ensure that you and I are safe as we go about our daily business. On the screen there you can see some of the police officers who are in attendance here. The families also, you know, many who are saying some of them are still struggling to come to terms. They're the families of some of the slain police officers you're seeing on your screen at the moment. Many of them still coming to terms, you know, with the great loss. Some of them have lost breadwinners. Some of them saying they're still struggling to cope at this point with what has happened. But there's a lot of support, I must say, Tumelo, that is given by the South African Police Service to the families of those who have been slain in the line of duty, whether they're off duty or on duty as well. You know, the Education Trust as well is one of the ways that the South African Police Service has managed to support the families of those who have been slain on and off duty within the South African Police Service. Tumelo?
And Chriselda, you mentioned challenges, of course, faced by the South African police, you know, officials in the country when it comes to you know, the killings, with the statistics that we've shared. You also mentioned that the Minister Ntleko and President Jacob Zuma will be giving an address at this event. Can we expect a plan of action as to how they're going to perhaps stop, if not minimize, you know, these killings, and to ensure and assure the families of the police officials as well as the police officials themselves that you know, the killings will stop?
Well, Tumelo, one of the major issues that have been raised is whether police are adequately trained to deal when they come across perhaps an ambush. These are the questions that we've posed to the police on several occasions about whether this relates to inadequacies, perhaps when it comes to police training. Certainly what they're saying is that it's not police training that seems to be the problem, but the majority of these incidents where police officers have come under attack or have been killed are instances where where, they've come under significant or major ambush by criminal elements in this country. Of course, it's expected that men and women in blue would be in the firing line, given that they're the ones who respond to incidents of crime. They're in the firing line when those criminals take out those guns, and if they're trying to access something, they're trying to carry out a robbery. Certainly, if there's somebody who's trying to stop them from doing that, that person will be shot and killed. So in this instance, many are saying that police are expected to come under fire like this. But the many questions that we posed about is that, if police officers then are trained to deal with instances such as this, why are we not seeing these numbers minimizing? The numbers that you gave, the 58 between the 1st of January 2015 and August 2015, is much higher than the number that we saw, the total number that we saw during the same period last year. So certainly there needs to be a number of plans put in place to ensure that the scourge or this onslaught against the South African Police Service, members of the South African Police Service, is minimized or actually brought to a stop. But for now, Tumelo, let me chat to one of the affected families, somebody who says she has been struggling since her husband was killed this year. The wounds, she says, are quite fresh. Her husband has been a police officer since 2003. I'm going to speak now to Mapula Sekela. Mapula, thank you very much for your time this morning. It must be quite difficult for you to be here this morning, and certainly your husband was killed just this year. I'm sure you're still struggling to come to terms with that.
Yes, I'm still struggling. Actually, my husband was not killed. He was involved in a car accident, but in a line of duty. He was traveling from Limpopo with Minister Chabane. So the accident happened between Polokwane and Mokopane.
I recall that incident, in the line of duty. That's what we're here to commemorate today, Being one of those police, I know that I recall when we went to go and lay to rest your husband as well as Minister Chabane as well. What kind of police officer was your husband? I want to get this personal touch. Is this what he always wanted to do?
Not really. Actually, he studied, but because he couldn't find the right job or a good job, so he had to go for SAPS. He was so passionate about his job. He loved his job so much. Yeah.
Is there any support that you've received from the South African Police Service since the death of your husband? We know that there are things such as the Education Trust, where the police, are able to look after the families of those who've been slain or either have been killed in the line of duty, or incidents such as that where your husband was involved in a car accident while he was in the line of duty.
Yes, I did receive some support from the SAPS, from the employee wellness, the counseling part, and I believe I'll be receiving support as well relating to education for my 2 kids. I have 2 kids, the other one is 4 years, the other one is 10 years, so they still have a long way to go.
A long way to go, but certainly it must be quite difficult. The job that your husband was involved in is one where you're not sure if, when somebody goes to work in the morning, they will come back once the sun goes down. But just tell us a bit more about your husband. Yes, he couldn't find a job, but then found a job within the South African Police Service, working with one of the most revered ministers in this country. Some of the things perhaps that you would say about his job, while he was performing his duties with Minister Chabane.
He enjoyed working with him, though they were working very long hours. Maybe 95% of the time they were spending it together, serving the country together. Yeah.
What kind of message would you have, or what would you say perhaps, to the Minister of Police? I mean, you're going to have the President of the country here today. We hear about such instances almost all the time about police officers who've been killed in the line of duty. You were telling me that you're still struggling to cope with what has happened. Many other families are in your position. But what kind of message would you want to convey to the President or even to the Minister of Police? Perhaps, to get instances such as police killings coming to a stop?
I'll talk particularly about the PSS and the PPS. I think the minister needs to go and visit his employees and check what are the challenges that they are facing day by day. Long working hours, obviously it results to fatigue, those things, yeah.
Right, Mapula Seleka, thank you very much for your time. Sekele, thank you very much for your time there. Mapula, one of the widows who is in attendance here today, some of the families that are struggling to come to terms, with their relatives, their husbands, their brothers and their sisters who've been killed in the line of duty. Well, Mapula's situation is slightly different. You would recall that horrific car accident that Minister Chabane was involved in, and he was killed together with his two protectors there as well. And she's saying that it's been quite difficult for her, but she's going to rely on the support that she gets from the South African Police Service. And certainly there's quite a lot of that, Dumelo. I must tell you, the Education Trust, a lot of counselling is also given to the families of these individuals, the South African members of the South African Police Service who have been killed, counselling. They try to make sure that the schooling is not interrupted as well, that the children are able to continue with their studies, are able to become doctors and lawyers. The original plans that had been in place continue. But, here today, what we're seeing is such a celebration honoring these men and women in blue who died in the line of duty, on and off duty, to say to them, thank you for your service. Theirs was to serve and to protect. And certainly, majority of the South African Police Service are doing that in this country, despite the many challenges. But it will be very interesting to see what, in addition, President Jacob Zuma has to say. He did denounce very recently the killing of policemen in this country, saying it needs to come to a stop. Would want to hear from the Minister of Police as well what additional measures are being put in place to ensure that the scourge, this onslaught against police officers in this country does come to a stop. The numbers are quite staggering. We'll certainly bring you more on what's happening here on the lawns at the Union Buildings. We're expecting the program to get underway very shortly as many of the dignitaries come in here at the Union Buildings. But a great day of honor for the men and women in blue.
Well, thank you so much, Chriselda Lewis. We surely will be coming back to you, of course, to follow the events of the day and how they turn out. Well, there was our SABC News reporter, Chriselda Lewis, coming to us live from Pretoria, where the SAPS is hosting the National Commemoration Day for officers who were killed on duty.